Have you ever wondered why the hardest workers are often the ones with the emptiest pockets? Today's story is about Luca, a struggling stonemason, a dying mother's hope, and a mysterious 5 a.m. blueprint that turned a tragedy into a miracle. Luca lived in a room that smelled of damp stone and despair. The walls were peeling like burnt skin. A thin, stained mattress lay directly on the cold hardwood floor. This was his world. His clothes were a map of his struggle. Frayed edges, permanent gray dust in the seams, patches upon patches. He looked older than his years. Every muscle in his body ached from the weight of the city. He carried stones for the rich. He built palaces he could never enter. He was a ghost in a city of gold. In a small village far away, his mother was fading. Her lungs were tired from decades of fieldwork. Her letters were stained with tears and exhaustion. Luca felt the walls closing in. No degree, no connections, no luck. He was just a pair of hands in a world that wanted machines. Comment yes if you believe that even the deepest darkness can lead to a new dawn. We began our journey here. One morning, the air was sharp and biting. Luca boarded the earliest horse-drawn carriage to the city center. The streets were silent. Only the desperate were awake. He sat across from a man in a velvet coat. The man held a roll of parchment with hands that were soft but firm. This was Elias, the kingdom's greatest architect. Elias looked at Luca's cracked fingernails. He saw the hollow exhaustion in the young man's eyes. He didn't offer gold. He offered something heavier. The secret isn't in the stones you carry, Elias whispered. The secret is in the hours you own. Between 5 and 7, the world is undecided. That is when you build your soul. Luca returned to his cramped room. He looked at the mattress on the floor. He looked at the leaking ceiling. He made a choice that felt like a gamble. An empty street at 4:55 a.m. No people. Only the flickering of a single gas lamp. The silence is heavy and expectant. Luca forced himself upright. His bones protested. The room was freezing. He wanted to crawl back into the warmth of his thin blanket. He didn't. He lit a single stubby candle. He found pieces of charcoal from the fireplace. He smoothed out a scrap of discarded construction paper. From 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, he became a student of shadows. He drew the arches he saw at work. He calculated the weight of stone. He taught himself the language of gravity. His fingers were black with soot. His eyes burned in the dim light. But for the first time, his mind was not on his hunger. From 6 to 7, he walked. He didn't just walk to work. He studied the ancient cathedrals. He touched the mortar. He whispered to the stones. Type 1 as you are ready to sacrifice your sleep for your ultimate dream. The transformation has begun. Day 30 arrived. Luca was exhausted. His co-workers mocked him for his early starts. The sun isn't up, but the fool is, they laughed. He ignored them. He was no longer just a laborer. He was a man with a secret. He was building a bridge in his mind. Day 60, his mother's letter arrived. She was weaker. The medicine was expensive. Luca's heart broke, but his resolve hardened like granite. He practiced his drawings until the candle flickered out. He memorized the geometry of the arch. He understood how a single stone could hold a mountain. A massive construction site at noon. High scaffolding, heavy gray clouds, a bridge under construction over a deep, rushing river. Suddenly, a sound like a gunshot echoed. A massive stone pillar shifted. The master mason turned pale. The calculations were wrong. The bridge was groaning. The workers scrambled away in terror. The entire project and dozens of lives were seconds away from collapse. Luca didn't run. He saw the flaw. He had drawn this exact failure a dozen times in his cold room at 5 a.m. He grabbed a heavy iron lever. He shouted orders with a voice that didn't belong to a laborer. It was the voice of a man who knew the truth. Shift the weight to the western veil, he screamed. Insert the keystone now, or we all perish. The master mason hesitated, then obeyed. The workers moved like a single machine. The groaning stopped. Silence fell over the site. The dust settled. Luca stood there, covered in lime and sweat, holding the blueprint of survival. The owner of the firm approached. He didn't see a poor man in rags. He saw the future of his company. That night, Luca didn't sleep on the floor. He sat at a desk in a new office. He had been promoted to lead supervisor. 1 year later, a beautiful sun-drenched stone house with large windows, a garden filled with lavender, no people in sight. Luca stood on the balcony. He wore a coat of fine wool. His hands were still scarred, but they were clean. In the room behind him, his mother rested. She was breathing the clean air of the city. The best doctors had mended her tired heart. He looked at his gold watch. It was 4:59 a.m. The habit had become his heartbeat. He realized that poverty wasn't just a lack of money. It was a lack of time ownership. He had reclaimed his life in the dark. Comment success if you believe you have the power to change your destiny. Success against all odds isn't a miracle. It is a masonry project. You lay one brick of discipline every single morning. The world is loud during the day. It is full of distractions and demands, but the dawn is silent. The dawn is yours. Luca went from a man with nothing to a man who shaked the city skyline. He didn't wait for an opportunity. He built one at 5 a.m. If you feel trapped in a life that is too small, look at your clock. Look at your habits. The exit door is hidden in the early hours. Build your foundation before the sun rises. Be the architect of your own light. Your miracle is waiting for you to wake up. Reflection. What will you do with your next 5 a.m.? If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reason to wake up early. See you at the top.